Hello, my name is Jane, and I want to tell you a story that happened in my family when I was still a teenager. Today I am 30 years old and I no longer live with my parents, but this experience I will never forget. I will tell you. In my family, I was the middle sister of 3 children. My younger sister was Jannet, and my older brother was Jason, and of course my mother and father. We were poor, but we could live life, and we lacked nothing at any time. Both my father and my mother worked hard to give us everything we need to grow up well. I'll be straight to the point, and I'll tell you what actually happened. I was 16 at the time, and a friend very close to my father had passed away. I remember that he was very sad about the death of his friend, and took our whole family to the funeral. That was a lot of people, by the way. Arriving there, my sister Jannet was 8 years old at the time, and it was her first time in the cemetery. And she was impressed with everything that was happening in that place, and ended up getting lost from us in the cemetery that was full that day. I soon realized that Jannet was gone. My father was helping to carry his friend's coffin, and my mother followed them to the grave, and I went to look for my little sister. I looked around the burials that were taking place, and I couldn't find her. I had already visited the cemetery before at my great-grandmother's funeral, and it really was a very sad place. That day it was more crowded than the day my great-grandmother was buried. As I didn't find Jannet close to the other families, I decided to look in the tombs, and when I realized I was already far from the people and surrounded by the graves, out of nowhere it seemed that I got away from everyone, and that there was no one else there. That feeling was very strange. Out of nowhere I saw a child running in some tombs in front of me. I thought it was Jannet, and I started running towards her. It was really a girl running, and when I realized I had entered the part of the cemetery that was only for children, I was paralyzed with that macabre place. I know that it happens that unfortunately children die, but that was a lot for me. Until today I still remember that scene, and when I realized the girl was gone and I was alone in that part of the 100 Eterio, it was when I asked God to show me where my sister was, so I could leave that place, and in the midst of my tears I heard the voice of Jannet that said, "Oh, there you are." Jannet said, coming towards me. In her arms was a very old doll, and I asked where she had found that, and she said to me that she had won it from a girl. I told her to leave it where I had found, and she did not obey. We went on to find our parents. The burial was already over, and they were looking for us. I told my mother about the doll that Jannet had stolen, and she was consoling my father, and it didn't even give much of an idea, but I knew that that doll was a problem. I was with that in my head. Arriving home as soon as Jannet came in with that, I felt a very bad feeling, and at night I woke up exactly at 3 a.m. I went to the kitchen of my house as usual to drink water, and when I returned to my room, I closed the door. I saw a girl running into my living room. I closed the door quickly and looked at Jannet, who was sleeping in her bed next to mine in our room. At that moment I was very scared. What could that be? I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. The night was long and lonely. With a lot of effort I managed to fall asleep again, and in the days that passed I started seeing this girl in my house. Not only at night, I started seeing her all the time. I thought I was going crazy when Jannet comes. She comes up to me and says that she also sees that girl, and says that she came with the doll, that she was the one who gave the doll to her at the cemetery. And I told her that it was well done that she didn't listen to me, and she started crying, saying that the girl told her she didn't want to leave. After that, everything became sinister in our house. The doll was gone. I looked for her along with my sister in the whole house, and she was literally gone. We started hearing strange voices and things at night at home, things like footsteps, voices like if it was someone talking, and also children's songs that would drive anyone crazy. It got to the point that our parents listened along with us. And soon we found ourselves all together with the noises going on, and we started to wonder where it came from. Soon I told Jannet to confess what she had taken in the cemetery, and she said about the doll and that girl who started to haunt our house. At the time my father told us to get the doll that he was going to set on fire. I said that it was gone, and my mother said to return it to the cemetery. I looked on the internet about objects of spirits, and people really said to return them and not to damage them because it could make the owner of the object angry. So we started looking around the house again for that doll, but without being able to find it. Until one night, I woke up with someone opening the door to my room. I quickly looked at Jannet, and she was sleeping next to me, and then I looked again at the door, and there was that sinister doll. It was literally that sinister doll walking alone there. I screamed at the time, and he ran away. I could see him running to the attic of my house. And then my mother came to see the reason for my scream, and I told him what I saw, so my father went up first, and soon my mother also went up in the attic to see, and there they found the doll inside a box behind an old closet. There was no way we could have put him there. It really was very macabre. He was also sinister, an old hand-sewn cloth doll. He was a doll of a boy. He wore clothes from around the 50s and was pretty beat up, so we went back to the cemetery to return the doll that Jannet had stolen and never came back. We saw nothing like that at home. It was a very big scare. And to this day, I don't know the story of that sinister doll. I just know that he made hell in our house for a few weeks, and that was real. If you liked it, subscribe. Thank you.